Yo, it's D.Arthur in the building, talking to you guys today about semen retention. You will view women differently when you go on retention. You're finally gonna view women differently when you go on retention for a longer period of time. The reason this is because the seminal fluid, the quote unquote milk that some people may call it, your pent up ejaculate, is finally raising through your body. It's not it's not going through your root chakra. Your it's raising through your body, and it's helping you become more enlightened. This is the practice that a lot of very enlightened people, master teachers, used when they were doing their teachings. They were enlightened. They were on semen retention. They were abstaining, and they were enlightened. And when you become enlightened, you definitely enlightened just means the complete understanding of something. And when you go on retention, you might start becoming enlightened about different uh different things. You're gonna stop looking at women maybe through a lust perspective and start looking at them based off their soul, based off their character, based off their values, based off how they act, based off based off how they act, based off how they act. And this is more important to you than maybe their physical features. Physical features still play a part into initial attraction role, but after a while, it pretty much comes down to how they act. How they act is a lot more important to you instead of other things, because the flesh is temporary, but the soul is eternal. This is just what it comes down to. This is how you start thinking. You're no longer going to be one of those guys who are just looking at a woman's figure and then making that decision based off, is she going to be a good partner for you or not. This has nothing to do with it anymore. It it plays into the decision making probably initially, but if she can look good, she can be eye candy, but not soul food. She can be eye candy all you want, but how does she act? Where her values stand? You start looking at more characteristics in terms of maybe a long term partner. And this is just how you start thinking, because you're doing something that is just more likely to do more likely to be long term. You're looking at life through more maybe a long term perspective, so you're deciding accordingly. You're not, like I said, you're going to be attracted to behavior, a lot more attracted to behavior than previously thought. Behavior is more important to you. Initial attraction is still initial attraction is still a part of your decision making, but it's not going to be 100% of your decision making. She can be the best looking person in the world, but she might not be able to hold you down. Like Nav said, hold you down, held you down, held him down. She has to hold you down. There has to be a little bit more into this than just physical features, because I've been there where it's just like you're pretty much you're pretty much you're pretty much making your decisions based off how maybe she physically looks, and you're willing to throw everything else out just based off how she looks. But in the long run, that may come to burn you. It may burn you. It might blow up in your face, because that's just, you can't just be making those decisions just based off that. So, and when you go on semen retention, you start finally thinking this way. You see a lot of men tend to think with their dicks. They tend to think with that instead of just thinking with their brain. And this is how men get burned. This is how men get burned 24/7. It really it just goes to show. It just comes down to the fact, like, if you want less stress in your life, the bottom line is you're just gonna have to make better decisions in all aspects of your life. You're gonna have to make better decisions. This is just the case. Guys aren't making better decisions. They're making convenient decisions, but they're not necessarily making better decisions. And this may come to burn you in the long run. In the long run. So start making decisions based off her character, how she acts, maybe her values, instead of just physical features. Like I said, physical features can still be a part of the decision making, but that's not gonna. If that's the sole reason why you're with a girl, then it probably won't last as long. This is just how it is. You're also not gonna be dealing with a lot of things that you used to be dealing with. Maybe when it comes to women, maybe when it comes to friends in general, you're not gonna tolerate a lot of as much. You start realizing when you go on retention that your tolerance is low, because you're putting yourself under a lot of stress. Indirectly, you're putting yourself under a lot of maybe more stress just because you're on retention. Being on retention may be a little bit more stressful just because I mean, you're holding something that is made to be released. You're holding onto it. So this is going to make you a little bit more tense, make you a little bit more stressed. So you're not going to tolerate as much. If someone isn't treating you as well as they can, then you have no hesitancy. You're not going to hesitate to cut them off as soon as things aren't going well. You have no problem doing that because you're not going to tolerate as much. You're already under a lot of tension. You're already under a lot of stress. Maybe you're already under a lot of irritability. You're a lot more irritable. So if things aren't aligning up to your highest vision, if people aren't being positive, if people are being negative, you have no problem cutting them off pretty quickly. This is just how it is. And this is something that can help you. You start making your decisions based off how they make you feel. If they're not making you feeling better when you talk to them, if they're making you feel negative, less, if you're talking to somebody on the phone and after you get off the phone with them, you tend to be a bit more angrier than you were before you got on the phone with them, you have no problem to at least not cutting people off, but at least distancing yourself from some people. This is what it comes down to when you go on retention, because what's really happening is because you're finally becoming more of a man. When it's all said and done, you're becoming more of a man because you're starting to figure out what's more important. You're starting to figure out what's more important. When you get to a certain age, maybe 24, 25, apparently they say the brain matures at 25 and up. When you get to that certain age where your routine is a little bit more sustainable and your priorities are a little bit more sustainable and things like that, you start making more room for the things that you want and less room for the things that you don't want. And this is pretty much what happens. And you're going to start making your decisions based off the things that you want. And if it's not aligning with the things that you want, you have no problem to cut it off quickly as possible. This is just what it comes down to. So you're only living with people who fit your new personality, your new character, people who are aligned to your highest vision, people who are ambitious, maybe who don't make excuses, who are positive, who are motivated, who are prosperity motivated, who are eager to have a fulfilling life. You can't even be around maybe people who are lazy or not as motivated, not inspired, people who just like to lay around, not really do anything. You're probably not as attracted to these type of people anymore. Maybe if you were like that before, but now you're not. You're more attracted to motivated people who can help you gain something in life. So you have to give your attention accordingly. This whole life is based off attention. If it wasn't, then think about some of the biggest brands marketing their logos and businesses in something like the Super Bowl halftime show or something like that, or commercials and stuff. When people have someone's attention, they're more likely to stick around with whatever message they have. But if nobody knows you, then you might have the greatest product, you might be offering something so great, but if nobody knows you, it's done in vain because no one knows, no one's aware of it. So attention is currency. Where you get the most attention is where people will probably spend the most money in. So make sure you're putting your attention on intentional things. Put your attention on intentional things, on things like if you're going to sleep and you have the news in the background, what you're actually doing is you're affirming fear into your subconscious. There's this crazy story where this kind of has happened to me, where I was sleeping on the couch for some reason, and the news was playing on in the background, and then they were talking about like a lot of disaster, blah blah blah, and then I had a nightmare that same night, where some sort of crazy nightmare with things that usually the news talks about. I don't even want to get into specifics. So this is what happens. So make sure you're putting your attention on things that benefit you, putting your attention on making sure if you're listening to things while you sleep, make sure they're positive, make sure they're in spiritual, instead of fear-stricken things. You can't get along with people who live by fear. It doesn't make sense to you anymore. You realize that's a decision. Whatever you place your attention to is what you're going to get more into your life. So if you think bad things are going to happen to you, you're always doubting yourself, you're always putting your attention on negative news, blah blah blah, this is what you're more likely to see. Your brain can only give you what you give your attention to. So make sure you're giving your attention to greatness, great things in your life, and things will finally pan out that way for you. Yeah, so the woman in general, you're gonna start looking at them differently. You're not gonna start looking at them as sexual objects. You're gonna look at them as just people. You're gonna want to listen to more of what they actually have to say, see their perspective on things, and see how you guys can really maybe mastermind or live in companionship or anything like that. And yeah, if you don't go on retention, you're gonna look at them probably through a lust perspective, and they're not going to feel you as much. There's a difference between when you're on retention and you're dealing with women, and when you're not on retention and dealing with women. You're more likely to gain a better connection with a woman when you go on retention, just because you have more to offer intellectually, and you're just more at ease with yourself, so you can transfer these emotions to her, and she's going to definitely feel this on a subconscious level, and all things are going to be better for you. You're going to be better off. So go on retention, look at women differently, and you're definitely gonna see the fruits of your labor eventually. With that being said, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and if you wanna earn, maybe start a second income, maybe from home, start an online income. The best way to do is to sell digital products to people who already want your products. Align the buyer with the need, and then boom, you're gonna make sales. If you want to learn how to do that, make sure you click on the link down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.